Hi, my name's Graeme Daniels. I'm a therapist from Walnut Creek, California, and I also have a practice in Concord. And I'm doing this video because I've written a book about drug treatment or drug rehab, whatever you want to call it. And here's a brief look at the book. If I can get it in front of the camera, it's called Working Through Rehab, an inside look at adolescent drug treatment. So the focus is on kids. Look there, you got a guy who's stuck at a computer with his back towards a kid who's looking at a kind of angry looking counselor with his arms folded. All that's significant. If I put the book a little higher, there's somebody with his thumb raised, and what that's about is that in one of the programs I worked in, the raising of a thumb was this symbolic gesture. If you had something to say, then you were on sort of this timeout device, you raised your thumb, and the idea was that you'd be alerting people that you had something to say. And the book is an expression of some things to say. I worked for 15 years in this industry, and I have concerns about it, basically. Mine is a personalized look at my career working in the industry of drug treatments as a counselor, as a supervisor of other counselors, as a one-time manager of a group home for teenage boys. And so half a sort of personal story about that with a lot of moving stories, a lot of kind of funny stories actually. But then it's also an expression, a statement of concern about the industry. There are a lot of sort of controversial things about it, from the application of, and I'll throw out some terms that may or may not have meaning to the listener: behavior modification, motivational interviewing, cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness training, in-depth therapy or psychodynamic forms of therapy. Solution-focused therapy, and on and on and on and on and on. The reason for citing all these different kind of approaches is to point out that the industry is often weighed down by a kind of diffusion of different opinions, which renders treatment approaches uncohesive, I should say. And that's not to mention such a more traditional sort of lay approaches, such as the 12-step movement. And I don't mean anything disrespectful by saying it's a lay approach. Other controversial aspects of drug treatment have to do with the application of group therapy. Now, group therapy, it's interesting. It's clearly the dominant format of therapy in hospital-based treatment programs, but clearly not the most popular form of therapy from the point of view from the consumer. The consumer of psychotherapy readily chooses individual, family, or couples therapy, but rarely chooses group therapy. But it is the dominant format of choice in drug treatment settings, mostly because it's cost effective. The theoretical approach that is most popular or that is presented to the consumer is cognitive behavioral therapy, not because it's the most effective, although its proponents say, argue that it is, but again, mostly because it's cost effective. It's because it's associated with short-term outcomes. And group therapy, which is cost effective because you can treat obviously more people at any given time, rather than individual or family therapy, which is more cumbersome. But the problem is that there are certain standards for the practice of group therapy, and those who write about it, who are experts on it, stipulate that an effective group ought to have no more than 8 or 9 members. Well, it's very common for drug treatment programs to stuff their groups with, well over a dozen group members. Again, that has mostly to do with cost, little to do with efficacy. And the providers are meant to give interventions that are, follow the tenets of cognitive behavioral therapy. They are very bullet pointed, very psychoeducational, but they tend not to be very in-depth or individualized. And furthermore, providers are required to provide quite a lot of documentation pertaining to their interventions. And this documentation, I cannot underscore this, tends to be rote and unbelievably insipid, such that it could be scrutinized by non-clinical technocrats for the purpose of public oversight. A glance at the oversight of drug treatment or any kind of psychotherapy in community mental health settings really ought to give the average consumer a second thought about the value of public regulation of certainly mental health. These are just some of the issues that I confront in my book, Working Through Rehab. Again, it's a very personalized approach. I chronicle my history from being a lowly intern in the mid-90s to being a supervisor as late as 2011, being a manager of a group home, a 6-bed group home, which is the sort of format that I believe is the most ideal, actually, if a comprehensive treatment approach can be integrated in. And I really hope that readers will give my book a look. Now, it can be accessed in a variety of ways. The book itself is available through createspace.com, which is a division of Amazon. But also you can get sample chapters and read blog essays relating to research that went into the book. There are well over 100 references in the book, both latter-day research and also theoretical references dating back decades. A lot of work went into the book, of course. And that can be accessed through my website, which is www.selfinaddiction.com. So I hope you check it out. And thank you for checking out this video. My name is Graeme Daniels, and once again, my book is called Working Through Rehab.